Hello my dear students and welcome back to Excellence Batch, and I am your Diksha ma'am. So today we are going to start with the pregnancy and gestation part of this chapter. In the previous class we have done how the implantation and pregnancy occurs. So it's time to move further and see how a baby is formed, how this beautiful life is formed inside a mother's womb. So let's get started. So first of all, in the previous class we have done about pregnancy. So when we say female is a pregnant, we say a female is a pregnant when the implantation is successful, when the blastocyst gets embedded in the female's uterus. Only then we say it is like successful, the pregnancy has occurred. This is what we say, right? So for example, we had this blastocyst which have outer layer of trophoblast and inner cell mass, yes. So this is trophoblast and this is inner cell mass. As I have told you in previous class also, inner cell mass is the cluster of cell which will form the entire embryo. How it can form the entire embryo? Because it has stem cells, or these cells, they are like stem cell. What are stem cell? These are the cells that have the property that they can be converted into any type of a cell, right? So these are like stem cells and they form the embryo. Then what's the role of trophoblast? If you remember, the trophoblast forms chorionic villi like this. Yes, so this is chorionic villi, and this villi will help in the embedding of this blastocyst in the uterine wall. So all this is happening around 4 to 5 day, or better say 5 to 6 day of the fertilization, right? Now what will happen next? Now this layer of chorionic villi, it will help in the formation of placenta. But what inner cell mass will be doing at this point? Because changes are occurring, right? This inner cell mass, like this is chorionic villi, right? This is trophoblast. This inner cell mass, it will be divided into two kind of cell. In inner cell mass, two kind of cells are present. Some cells, they are tall, they are columnar, and other cells, they are cuboidal. So the inner cell mass will be divided into two portions, the upper layer of cell and the lower layer of cell. Or we can say the inner cell mass gets differentiated into two layers, the upper and the lower layer, like this. Yes. The upper layer is known as epiblast. Upper layer is known as epiblast and the lower layer is known as hypoblast. Epiblast is the layer which will form your entire embryo out of the inner cell mass, right? Inner cell mass, they got differentiated into two, hypo and epi. Epiblast is the one which will form three germ layers, endoderm, ectoderm and mesoderm, and these layers will form the entire embryo, right? So epiblast, it forms germ layers, right? Apart from this, one more wonderful event will be occurring right here. Some cells of epiblast will move above, some cells of hypoblast will move below, right? Some cells of epiblast will move above, some cells of hypoblast will move below. Now let's see what will happen. So let's see, this was how it looks like. This is chorionic villi, these are trophoblast cells, right? And this was your epiblast. As I have told you, epiblast cells are moving above, so it will cover this surface like this, right? And hypoblast cells, they are also moving downwards and it will cover this surface like this. As a result, it will form another two extra embryonic membrane. One is amnion, another is yolk sac. So here it is the formation of amniotic sac and yolk sac takes place. right? And this layer is amnion because it is forming amniotic sac. So we have formed three extra embryonic membranes. I have told you extra embryonic membranes are membranes which are present outside the embryo, they are not the part of embryo. Why? Because epiblast is the one which will form embryo. Epiblast is the one which will further give rise to first endoderm, and then it will form mesoderm, and then it will form ectoderm. So that's the sequence how three germ layers are formed. First endoderm will be formed, and then mesoderm, and then ectoderm will be formed, right? All these three germ layers have fate, it will form the entire embryo, right? Like ectoderm will form your entire nervous system, ectoderm will form your skin, it will form your entire nervous system, right? It will form your eye, ear and everything. On the other hand, if I talk about mesoderm, it will form all your circulatory system like heart, like your blood, like your connective tissue, like your muscles. All these, they will be formed from mesoderm, like spleen, like gonads. Whereas endoderm will form your gut, your liver, your glands like thyroid, parathyroid, all these glands, they will form from endoderm. So this is the fate of all these three germ layers. These three germ layers, they are responsible, or they are given the responsibility to form the entire embryo, right? So now after these three germ layers are formed, right, for example, this is the embryo, right now it is considered as a blastula only. After the three germ layers are formed, you will call the embryo as gastrula. What you will call it as? Gastrula. Let me draw the diagram. For example, this is your chorionic villi, again this is trophoblast, right, and here we have the ectoderm. Imagine this is the ectoderm. This is the amnion, right, and below we have, imagine, the mesoderm, and here we have the endoderm, right. So three germ layers are formed. Here we have yolk sac, this is yolk sac, the hypoblast and yolk sac. Okay, so as you can see in this diagram, three germ layers are present which have been formed from epiblast. This is your ectoderm, this is your endoderm, and this is your this is your mesoderm, middle one, and the lowermost one is endoderm. So now this embryo will be considered as gastrula. So gastrula is the embryo which contains all these three germ layers, and process of formation of these three germ layers to form this embryo gastrula is known as gastrulation. What do you call it as? Gastrulation. So what is gastrulation? Gastrulation is the formation of gastrula. It's a process of formation of gastrula. What is gastrula? How it is different from blastula? Blastula has blastocele, this does not has blastocele. This one, the blastula has inner cell mass, this one has three germ layers which will form the entire embryo. So that's the beauty of your embryonic development, right? And everything is taking place like in first to 2 weeks of pregnancy. In fact, in the first week of pregnancy, the germ layers are formed. Okay, so this is how initially every three germ layer is formed to form gastrula, right? And these three germ layers later on they form the entire body organs, like I have told you, like gut, liver, these glands, they are formed from endoderm, and your mesoderm, it formed these body organs, and ectoderm these. So these are certain examples. I am not going to talk about all the entire body. Okay. Anyways, let's move further and talk about placenta. Now the baby is attached with the mother uterine wall. Okay. And what is helping it in attachment? Chorionic villi. You all know that, right? So like we have done, this is the embryo, this is the uterus, this is the uterine wall, right? And blastula is embedding with the help of It's these villi. Okay. So after it will embed, it will go inside the mother, but villi will be there. So in short, we can say there is an attachment. Embryo is present inside here. Embryo is present here. Okay, I am writing E for embryo. Embryo is present here, and this is mother's uterine wall. So between these two, there is a source of attachment, and this is known as placenta. So this is what placenta is. This is what placenta is. So you can see this placenta is formed by two things. What are those two things? This portion is a uterine tissue, the endometrium. Okay, and this is chorionic villi. So can I say placenta is formed by not just by the fetal portion but by mother and fetal portion both? Can I say that? Like I have said, if this is the embryo, these are the villi of embryo, right? And this is the mother's uterine wall. This is how it is embedding. So if this is the embryo, right, like let's do it like this. If this is the embryo, this one is the embryo, this is the villi, and this is the mother tissue in which it is embedding. So right now this is the embryo, so this will be the placenta which is holding both together. So placenta is technically formed by both the maternal and fetal part. So placenta is formed by both maternal part and the fetal part. So only mother is not responsible for formation of placenta, not only the fetus is responsible for formation of placenta. Okay, now what is the maternal part? Uterine tissue. And what is the fetal part? That's chorionic villi. Now the main question, what is the role of placenta? Why nature has given placenta? Most of you must be thinking, ma'am, there's nothing to think about. Baby need food, mother will give it through placenta. That's true. So first of all, this placenta, it is acting as an organ for transport of substances. So one role of it will be, it will act as, or it will help in transport. This can be transport of food, this can be transport of waste. Now ma'am, why are we giving waste to the baby? We are not giving waste to the baby, we are taking waste from the baby. Okay, so it's like an organ that helps in transport, right? Another, it is also acting as a barrier. How barrier? Imagine we give blood vessel directly to the fetus and there is no placenta. Imagine there is no placenta and we directly give blood vessel to the fetus, then what will happen? In that case, a lot of bad substances from the mother will enter into fetus and that might harm the fetus, right? So that's why it is acting as a barrier, right? And third thing, it acts as an endocrine body. Endocrine means it will secrete some hormones. It will secrete some hormones, right? Now this is the early embryonic stage where the germ layers have formed and this is how placenta looks like. But after that, after like around 3 to 4 weeks, when the fetus has formed its some of the organ, it has it's not known as embryo, it has become fetus because it has grown its organs. Now what will happen? How the placenta will be present? So when the fetus has grown, the placenta becomes disc-like, like this, right? It will become disc-like. It will be attached to a structure known as umbilical cord. It will be attached to a structure known as umbilical cord. Umbilical cord. This umbilical cord will be attached to the fetus. So this is how imagine the fetus is. So this umbilical cord will be attached to the fetus. Right here, you must have seen when a baby is formed, on its navel a cord like structure is present, right? Doctor tie it up and after that, after some time it gets moved off, right? That structure is known as umbilical cord. So when you have early embryonic stages, the baby is directly attached through the chorionic villi with the uterine portion. This is how placenta is. But when the embryo has been converted into fetus, it has grown a little, the placenta will also grow along with it and umbilical cord will be formed. So now the baby is not directly attached to the placenta, it is attached through this cord-like structure known as umbilical cord. Now what umbilical cord have? Umbilical cord contains two umbilical arteries, and one umbilical vein. And since they are blood vessels, so they will be containing fetal blood. So no mother's blood is present in the umbilical cord, the blood is a fetal blood. So exchange of everything will take place over here through placenta, right? For example, this is the uterine tissue. Here the mother's blood vessels are present. Here the mother's blood vessels are present. Okay. So blood vessels are opening here. Imagine from blood vessel we are taking oxygen. So this oxygen will go inside here and it will take the CO2. This is how the exchange will later on takes place. So umbilical cord is a cord-like structure which contains blood vessel which contain 100% fetal blood, right? And always umbilical vein will carry oxygenated or deoxygenated blood. Here there is opposite. It will contain oxygenated blood, whereas artery will carry deoxygenated blood. Just like pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein, right? So now let's see and discuss the role of placenta in much detail. Let's see. So first is, it helps in transport of nutrients. It also helps in the transport of waste like urea. For example, the baby is not pooping, right? You understand pooping, it's not defecating. So at this point a lot of waste, because when does we make poop, when does we defecate? When we eat food through mouth. So baby is not eating food through mouth, it is directly taking the the last metabolic product. For example, if a female is pregnant, she had chapati have starch, and starch will break down into glucose. So that's the role of digestive system. Now that glucose from mother's blood will directly go into the fetus. So fetus doesn't need to break the glucose. So it is not eating glucose, it is taking it via blood. So the glucose from mother's blood will enter into fetus blood and it will be directly metabolized. Now the waste that a fetus body is producing, now because the kidneys are not functional in early stages, so that waste through blood will go back to mother and mother will excrete it. That's why mother's metabolism is 2 or 3 times higher in the pregnancy than the normal person. Why? Because she is also working for the baby. The mother's body is working also for the baby, right? So this is how important, how important it is to take care of a pregnant female, because her body is working, twice or thrice as yours, right? So this is why we need the transport organ, that is placenta. So placenta will allow a lot of movement of nutrients, gases, waste, right? So there also will be transport of the gases. Now as we have said, it is acting as a barrier. So why there is a need of a barrier? First of all, some harmful substances can move inside the baby's body or fetus body, like certain bacteria and viruses. But if we have a barrier, it will prevent the entry of all those bacteria and viruses into the fetal body. So it is acting as a barrier. Why? To prevent the entry of harmful substances. These harmful substances can be anything. They can be toxins, they can be viruses, bacteria, etc. Second, the mother's blood. Second reason is mother's blood. Mother's blood can be of different blood group. So if the mother's blood will get mixed with the fetus blood, the problem will occur. But we don't want mother and fetal blood to get mixed. So when the fetus is in the womb, at that time there is no mixing of blood, right? So here we are preventing mixing of blood. So placenta is acting as a barrier to prevent the mixing of blood. Why? Because mother's blood may have different blood group. That can be a reason. For example, mother blood group is A and fetus is O, there will be a problem, right? Second thing, the mother's blood is at high pressure. The mother is a fully developed adult. She has great blood vessel, blood is running at high pressure, nothing is problematic for mother. But baby is very little. The blood vessels have not been formed yet properly. Right. So, if those fragile blood vessels which are just forming, if they will get a high blood pressure like of a mother, then they will burst. So, that is why it is also said the mother should relax during pregnancy, should not have a lot of stress, and so, because if her blood pressure will increase, that can harm the fetus or the baby, right. So, here another thing, the blood is at high pressure. The mother's blood is at high pressure. Now, the question that I want to ask you guys, I said a lot of harmful substances, they cannot pass through the placenta. So, all the harmful substances cannot pass through the placenta? No, it is not like that. You know, if you have heard, if a mother has HIV, it can also occur to the fetus. So, some viruses can easily pass the placenta like HIV and so. Fine. Alright. Now, the another thing, endocrine, which is most important. So, your placenta is an endocrine organ. Why? Because it secretes hormone. Let's see, which hormones does placenta secrete? It secretes first of all very high amount of progesterone. Progesterone is considered as main pregnancy hormone. If a female have high amount of pregnancy hormone, this progesterone, then how it will help in maintaining pregnancy? It will maintain endometrium and placenta. Now, you must be thinking, ma'am, it is secreted by placenta, maintaining placenta. Very true. In the first 3 months of pregnancy, when the placenta is not fully formed, it is not a complete endocrine organ. It becomes a highly active endocrine organ after first trimester. So, in the first trimester, okay, you don't know about trimester, let's leave it. In the first 3 months, let's say first 3 months of pregnancy. In first 3 months of pregnancy, the placenta is not fully formed, it is not a complete endocrine organ. So, all this progesterone, you know, the source of progesterone is basically the corpus luteum, the ovary, right. But after the placenta is formed, it will also keep on producing progesterone, and the pressure on corpus luteum will decrease, and it will also keep on maintaining itself. Now, in the later phases of pregnancy, you will also get estrogen in female's body, but in later phase of pregnancy, high amount. Right. Though if a female, if you will check the hormone of female, she will get estrogen, she will have estrogen, okay. But in the later phase, the amount of estrogen is higher. In rest of the pregnancy, the amount of progesterone is higher, okay. Mark my words, you can write it down also. From first to like 8 months around, the level of progesterone is higher, estrogen is low. But in the last month of pregnancy, the level of estrogen increases. Why? We will talk that in parturition, okay. Apart from that, it also secretes the hormone HCG. The full form is human chorionic gonadotropin. It is just like LH. We have done, this is the first hormone that tells you about the pregnancy. It is secreted by the even initial phases of placenta. This is a hormone that is secreted at first by your placenta. So, how does it mimic LH? For that, you need to understand the process. In the female reproductive system, in a non-pregnant female, what we have seen, when GnRH come, it asks the anterior pituitary to secrete FSH and LH, right. FSH develops follicles, LH does ovulation. This is what we have studied so far. Also, LH has a very important role. It maintains corpus luteum. It maintains corpus luteum. This is what we have done in menstrual cycle. As soon as LH is present, corpus luteum will be maintained, and corpus luteum is the source of progesterone. And if progesterone is there, endometrium will be maintained. Right. Now, but the fate of LH is, LH has a that property, whenever there is progesterone in high amount, it will definitely inhibit LH, right? It will give negative feedback to LH. So, this is what happened in menstrual cycle. In menstrual cycle, what we have done, when ovulation occur, LH is at peak. So, corpus luteum is formed. But when corpus luteum is fully formed, it forms progesterone, and that progesterone will now keep on giving negative feedback to LH. That's why LH drops, and then at 29th day, the female endometrium, it moves down. This is what we have done. This is how the cycle moves. This is how all hormones are dependent. Now, imagine a female is pregnant. In first 3 months, we are dependent on corpus luteum for progesterone because placenta is not fully formed. But when the progesterone will be higher, LH will move away because it gives negative feedback, it inhibits LH. Progesterone inhibits LH, right? Then how the progesterone will be maintained, how endometrium will be maintained. So for that, what nature does, as soon as implantation occur, the placenta will secrete HCG, which will mimic LH. Now LH is gone. Imagine female is pregnant today and LH is gone. When LH will be gone, HCG will come and rescue corpus luteum. And it will keep on telling, I am like LH, I will help you. So HCG will keep on maintaining corpus luteum so that progesterone should be formed and endometrium will be maintained. You got my point? So what happened in normally, this is what happened. So in pregnancy, LH will drop. So what HCG will do? HCG will maintain corpus luteum and this corpus luteum will secrete progesterone, and this progesterone will maintain placenta and the endometrium. Okay, so this is how HCG is very important, right? So this is one hormone. Now let's talk about the other hormone. Other hormone is HPL, human placental lactogen. Human placental lactogen. Lactose. What is lactose? Sugar, milk sugar. So HPL is that hormone secreted by the placenta. It will make sure that female's breast start developing. Progesterone and HPL, in fact, they will keep on doing one single thing. They will develop the breast so that the female breasts are ready to produce milk. So that's why its name is lactogen. So HPL along with progesterone and another hormone, prolactin. Prolactin in initial phases is very low, but in later phases is increasing. It increased, right? So along with progesterone and prolactin, HPL develops mammary glands. Mammary glands for what? Milk secretion. For milk secretion. Okay, so these are the major very important hormones that are secreted by the female's placenta. Now, what are the other hormones? Let me also introduce with those. What are the other hormones? These hormones, they are very important in pregnancy, but they are not secreted by the placenta. For example, we have first hormone relaxin. Relaxin comes from ovary. So who or what thing in ovary secretes the relaxin? Corpus luteum. What's the role of this relaxin? You know, when female is at the end of her pregnancy, the baby has to come out. So obviously it will come out from female's body because baby is in the pelvic region. So we want the pelvic bones to relax, so that the pelvic bone will expand and baby can easily move out. So basically it relaxes both cervix and pubic bones, joints of the pubis or pelvic bones, so that the baby can easily move out. Hence its name is relaxin, because it is relaxing something. So it will relax the cervix and pelvic joints for easy parturition. Parturition means delivery of baby, right? Apart from that, in female, whenever she is pregnant, other hormones also increase like cortisol, thyroxine. These hormone in female, they also increase several folds. That means if you will check the thyroxine level in a pregnant female and in a normal female, it will be very different. It will be very different. So, they increase several folds. Why? What's the role? So, cortisol has a role in last phases, that is parturition. And thyroxine is very important because it helps in differentiation of tissues. If a female does not have appropriate amount of thyroxine in her body, then the differentiation of baby's tissue will not take place. Why? Because two important events in the gestation. What is gestation? The embryonic development is cell division and cell differentiation. If differentiation will not occur, baby will have no proper brain and no proper body. So, that is why thyroxine is very, very important, right. So, because it is important for differentiation, and there are only two events that are happening: cell division, differentiation, cell division and differentiation. This is what baby is doing, right. Okay. So, these are the certain hormones. Let us talk about gestation now. As I have already used the word gestation, so let us talk about it. Gestation is the technical word used for embryonic development. So, if I talk about definition, it is basically not just embryonic development, but it is the time period of embryonic development. For example, the time, it's basically the time period right from fertilization to the delivery of baby. Imagine the fertilization took place today and now the baby will be delivered after 9 months. So, that 9 months is a gestation period, right. So, gestation period is basically the time period from fertilization to delivery of baby. In human, it is technically 9 months. In human, it is technically 9 months. Okay. So, we have divided these 9 months into trimesters. Usually, doctors carry out these pregnancy details in the form of weeks and the trimesters. Now, what is this trimester? For example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 months. This is the period where baby grows, okay, in the womb of a mother. Now, we have clubbed them like that. So, 3 months make one trimester. So, this first 3 months is first trimester. Next 3 months is second trimester. And now, this one third trimester. Okay, the most is the important trimester is the first trimester, because in first trimester all the organs are formed, but the baby is in a miniature size, very small, but all organs are formed. So, this is the basic time period where female has to take a lot of her care, what she is eating, and she should not be like having any infection, because a baby can easily got those infections. Okay. So, here first trimester, second trimester and third trimester, it is the complete pregnancy of a female, and then comes the week. Like in first month we have 4 weeks, then 4 weeks, then 4 weeks. So, like around 12 weeks means one trimester. So, this is how they does, right. So, let us talk about what is formed when. Let us talk about those exact time period, what is formed at what time interval. For example, after 1 month, in first trimester, after 1 month, you will see the baby's heart will be formed, and even you can hear the heart sound in ultrasound, right. So, doctors usually use this technique of ultrasonography to see the scan pictures of baby. So, these ultrasound, they are never done on like first month and so, no. They are usually done around like 8 weeks, then 12 weeks to see whether the baby is doing fine, where the baby is present, is there any ectopic pregnancy or not, fine. Now, by the end of second month, the baby will form limbs and digits. What are limbs and digits? This is limb, these are digits. By the end of 12 weeks, most of the major organs, genitals, limbs, everything will be formed. Okay. So, by the end of 12 weeks, we can easily see whether it's a male or a female by just looking at the genitalia. 5th month, first movement will be seen. So, must have heard that kick, the baby gives a kick. So, at the like around 5th month, you can feel, the mother can feel the movement of baby, and the baby will have head hair, right. At the end of 24 weeks, the baby's eyelids will separate, eyes will open, eyelashes will be formed and body will be covered by the hair. And at the end of the 9th month, the baby will be fully formed. Now, ma'am, you have told this, okay, fine, it's factual, how to learn it? Okay. First month when a female got to know she's pregnant, she's very near to the baby and she's happy by heart. So, imagine first month the heart is formed. Okay. Now, at the end of 2nd month, on 2nd month, so what is near the heart? The limbs are present. First month, 2nd month, the limbs are formed. Now, at the end of 12 weeks, now it's said that 12 weeks means the end of 1st trimester. So, we say in 1st trimester almost all the organs are formed. The miniature is present. So, at the end of 12 week means at the end of the 3rd month of pregnancy, at the end of 1st trimester, major organs, everything is formed. Okay. Now, 5th month, F for 5th, F for first movement, right. The baby will do the movement and move head with hair like ma'am is doing. So, hair on the head. Now, at the end of 24 weeks, because 24 weeks is the highest week you have seen here. So, here eyes will open, the baby will say, now I am big, I am in 24 week, I can see things, right. And at end, the baby is fully formed and ready to deliver. Okay. So, this is how the gestation takes place in the baby. Alright, so now let's read NCERT. So, let's read this. After implantation, finger-like projections appear on the trophoblast called chorionic villi, which is surrounded by uterine tissue and maternal blood. So, we all know the chorionic villi start to embed inside the uterine tissue. If the font size is less, what I would suggest, please open your NCERT. That's a clip from NCERT. Okay. So, the chorionic villi and uterine tissue become interdigitate with each other and jointly form a structural and functional unit between developing embryo and maternal body called placenta. The placenta facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the embryo and also the removal of CO2 and excretory waste material produced by the body. The placenta is connected to the embryo through an umbilical cord which helps in the transport of substances to and fro from the embryo. So, this is how they have told what is the function of placenta, right. Now, placenta secretes, because it's an endocrine tissue, it secretes hormones like HCG, HPL, estrogen, progesterone. In the last phases, because I have told you relaxin will be released in last phase because it helps in parturition. So, relaxin is also secreted by ovary. Let us remember that HCG, HPL and relaxin are produced in female only during pregnancy, because HCG and HPL secreted by placenta, and placenta is only in pregnancy, and relaxin also helps in parturition. So, there is no role in a normal non-pregnant female. So, these hormones will always be released in pregnancy. In addition, during pregnancy, other level of hormones like estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, prolactin, thyroxine, they will also increase. Now, why they are increased? Because they help in fetal growth, like I have told you, thyroxine. So, immediately after implantation, the inner cell mass differentiates into an outer layer called ectoderm and inner layer called endoderm. A mesoderm soon appears between ectoderm and endoderm. These three layers give rise to all tissues in adults. So, as I have told you, the ICM, inner cell mass, has stem cell, it will differentiate into epiblast, hypoblast. Epiblast will form all the three germ layers which will later on form all the what? Organs. Now, it needs to be mentioned here that the inner cell mass contains certain cell called stem cell which have the potency to give rise to all the tissues and organs, right. I am not reading this paragraph because first we will talk about this diagram. This diagram is very important. Why? Because this shows how the baby is present. So, see, this is the embryo present inside the womb and this is the placenta, right. Here you can see the structure known as yolk sac. This is the placental or chorionic villi and this is the umbilical cord. Fine. The structure should be very clear. Now, let us talk about the extraembryonic membranes which we are talking about so much, the amnion, the yolk sac, the chorionic villi. Let us talk about them. So, there are total 4 extraembryonic membrane. Extra means outside, Okay. There are total 4 extraembryonic membrane. Let me start it with which we have already done. One is chorionic villi. Second is amnion. Third is yolk sac. And the last is allantois. This is new one for you. Right, there are 4 extraembryonic membrane. First of all, what these membranes are made up of? They are made up of cells of mesoderm and ectoderm only, right? So just like I'll say, the chorionic villi is made from the trophoblast, which is just like ectoderm, and the other layer it has is mesoderm. So what is the role of chorionic villi? It helps in placenta formation. This is its role, because chorionic villi forms a fetal part of placenta, right? Second is amnion. So this amnion, if you will see, it is sac-like, amniotic sac. Like here the embryo is present. This is how embryo is present inside our or a female's body, and embryo is present in the water bag like structure, and this water bag is known as amnion. What do you call it as? Amnion. This amnion is made up of 2 layers. One is mesoderm and another is ectoderm, right? Inside of this is present amniotic fluid. What is this? Amniotic fluid. This fluid is very much important for fetus. Why? First of all, we are terrestrial organism, we need water, right? So this fluid will prevent desiccation or dryness of the fetus. Second, it contains antibacterial properties also, and third, it acts as a cushion. So it is basically protecting the baby with all sorts it can, right? So first, it prevents desiccation. What is desiccation? Dryness. Second, it has antibacterial properties, it can kill the bacteria. And third, it acts as a cushion. Fine. Now the yolk sac. Yolk sac, as you can see in this diagram also, this is where the yolk sac is present. And if you have also seen the diagram here, which I have made. Now you must be thinking, ma'am, the yolk sac that you had made in this diagram is quite bigger. But here the yolk sac is very small. Why? See, yolk sac in early stages of pregnancy is very bigger, the one I have made. But later on yolk sac, it reduces in size. Okay. So yolk sac has a very important role. It is the first site of erythropoiesis. The RBC formation starts in yolk sac, because in the early stages there was no liver, there was no bone marrow, nothing was there. So the site of erythropoiesis in us is red bone marrow, but baby does not have it. So this is the first site of erythropoiesis. First site of erythropoiesis. What is erythropoiesis? RBC formation. Okay. Now, what about allantois? Okay, let's see what they are made up of. Allantois and yolk sac, both they are made up of endoderm and mesoderm. They both are made up of ectoderm and mesoderm, and these both are made up of endoderm and mesoderm. What's the role of this allantois? It helps in excretion. You know, in early stages the urinary bladder is also not present. Not all the excretory organs are developed. So there the allantois will help in the removal of gases and also the urine, right? So this is how all these 3 layers, membranes, they are not present in the embryo. You can see embryo is just quite different, it's just present here. This is what is going to be baby, but these are almost away from the embryo. So they are different from the embryo, they are extra from the embryo, they are not the part of the embryo, they are outside the embryo. So that's why you call them as extra embryonic membranes, right? Okay, so now let's read this paragraph. What are the major features of embryonic development at various months of pregnancy? The human pregnancy lasts for 9 months. Do you know for how many months pregnancy lasts in dog, elephants and cat? So who can tell me what is the period of Gestation period for dog, cats and elephants. I want to see that in comments. I'll let you know in the next class. I want you guys to find this first. That's the homework. Find out. So they say find out. In human being, after 1 month, this is all we have read. After 1 month, the baby's heart will be formed, and by the end of 2nd month, limbs and digits. By 12 weeks, 1st trimester, major organs. 5th month, baby will move and have hair. End of 24 weeks or 2nd trimester, the baby will open the eyelids there, and body will have fine hair, and in the last month there will be parturition. Fine. Now let's solve some questions. Okay. Thank you, not yet. The amnion of mammalian embryo is derived from ectoderm, mesoderm, endomeso, mesotrophoblast, ectoderm and endoderm. There is no layer which is made both from ecto and endo, right? The trophoblast and the mesoderm is the chorionic villi, because trophoblast is the one that multiplies and form villi that we have done in the implantation. Endoderm and mesoderm is yolk sac and allantois. And what is left? This one is your amnion. So answer to this question is 1. This is a previous year question. So though these things are not present in NCERT, but sometimes they ask you, then what will you do? So for that you have to learn with your Diksha ma'am, right? Which hormones is produced in women during pregnancy? So you have to tell the hormones which is formed during pregnancy. HCG, true. Relaxin, true. Even HPL, so all of the above. Answer is 4. Next. Hormones secreted by placenta to maintain pregnancy are HCG, HPL, progesterone, prolactin. Basically, that's the question. What thing you need to find? The placental hormones. Other things to maintain pregnancy and all is just confusing. Okay. Prolactin is a hormone that is secreted by anterior pituitary. Other all are hormones of placenta. Oxytocin is secreted by, yes, posterior pituitary. I think you have forgot that 11th class chemical control. Relaxin is secreted by ovary. These all 4 are secreted by placenta, and here glucocorticoid, they are secreted by adrenal cortex. So answer to this question, my dear students, 3. Next, attachment of fetus to placenta occurs through. So how does, for example, this is fetus is attached to the placenta with the help of umbilical cord. Notochord is something else. It is the structure present in chordates which gets replaced by vertebral column, right? Chordate mesoderm is different. It's a mesoderm of chordates, and spinal cord is your nervous system's part. Human placenta is formed by chorionic villi, very true. Umbilical cord, uterine tissue. Umbilical cord is not a part of placenta. It is a rod-like structure that connects fetus and placenta, right? So both 1 and 3, answer 4. Next, fetal membrane that provides the first blood corpuscle circulation in embryo is very simple. Yolk sac helps in RBC formation. 2. Next, correct sequence in development. Okay, let's see. So first of all, what will happen? Fertilization. Okay, true, true, true. Alright, so this is wrong. It is saying cleavage first. Then after fertilization, zygote will be formed. Very true. Cleavage will not occur first. First zygote will be formed. Okay, next. So after zygote, the cleavage will occur. This is true. And after cleavage, morula will form, not the blastula. And then blastula and then gastrula. So answer is 1. So you should know the sequence of development. Next, that's it. So that's about the pregnancy and the gestation, embryonic development. I hope you will study this well, learn the things properly, and also tell me the answer of gestation of elephant, dog and cat. And I'll tell you the right answer in the next class. Till then, keep on studying, keep working hard. Bye bye, take care.